We've got some fresh.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
And we spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn more on how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. There's a surprise for you available to download. Yeah, go check it out.
Today's topic, guys, how to balance entrepreneurship, parenting, and a great marriage.
Ooh, baby.
Good job. That
was good. That's good headline.
That was a good headline right
FONZI
there.
gave me the trust, and I delivered.
I'm excited. Today's guests, they're not only friends, but they are great at marriage indeed.
And everything in there.
And everything
in there.
But I'm very excited to dig into this, not because, in part because I am eventually going to get married and I want to be as prepared as I can.
He wants like a soccer team of kids. He wants 11 kids. So yes, he's going to have to learn how to do all this. Anyways, FONZI, do we have a sponsor today?
Indeed we do.
Let's go.
And today's
Tell
sponsor
me more.
is your own, the BIZBROS. Yeah, and the crowd goes wild with content momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is content momentum? Well, if you produce long-form content just like this one that you're listening to or watching, and you want to slice it up and, turn it into value-packed, bite-sized assets, so then you can send like little minions into social media and amplify your contribution, then we want to help you out. Slide into the DMs, head first, tippy toes first, whatever you want. At BIZBROS Co. on Facebook, on Instagram.
Not sure if that joke is landing, FONZI. Second time today, not sure. Is it? Maybe.
It's all about consistency.
I see our guest laughing right here behind cameras. Anyways, please go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button so you know when those episodes are dropping on your phone. We do them live every Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and on your phone Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
That is right.
Follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co. I got it.
Almost got it.
I got it.
Guys, if you find this episode impactful and if you know of somebody that can use today's information, what we're going to talk about today about marriage, right? And parenting and entrepreneurship, and you think this can influence their life in a positive way, please don't forget to share it. And of course, leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
An overlooked aspect of successful entrepreneurship and relationships.
No.
Wow.
No.
What is this, FONZI?
No.
What is this?
Start again.
An overlooked aspect of successful entrepreneurship and relationships.
No, it doesn't say and. It says our relationships.
And, okay. Do I need glasses? Take 3. Here we go. An overlooked aspect of successful entrepreneurship are relationships, partnerships, networks, and let's not forget one of the most important relationships of all, marriage.
Well, I wouldn't know about that since I am not married. But I am ready to take some notes to have a successful marriage. When it comes, today's guest help other entrepreneurs increase profit in their business by becoming better spouse.
Yes, bring it on. I'm so ready for this. I would definitely have to share this one with the wifey. Back to the guest. They are parents of 5 little humans. They have published 5 books and journals, including a children's book written by their 8-year-old son. All this while helping others build a strong marriage.
So pumped up. Please welcome host of the Strong Business, Stronger Marriage podcast, founders of Our Family Strong, and great friends, Cory and JoJo Rankin.
Well, that was exciting.
Thanks
for having us, guys.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah, welcome. By the way, I was so excited I had to do the intro 3 times. Just gonna put that out there.
Beautiful.
We are honored.
So beautiful.
Yeah, we're honored to have you guys here. Well, first of all, thank you. I want to say thank you because you guys had us on your show, and now everybody thinks we're married. So, I'm just gonna no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. But it was a wonderful experience, and it's incredible what you guys are doing. And obviously, we've known you for quite a bit now. And JoJo, I'm going to tell you what you've said to me. I've applied it, and it's worked with the wifey. Yes. So thank you. FONZI, I don't know if you're applying that with a girlfriend, but we'll see.
No, but share with the people, because now I'm curious. I'm like, what is it that you're applying?
This is what we're here for. So don't spill the secrets just yet. The bins.
I see the curiosity aspect in here.
I know. But before that, Cory and JoJo, we want you to share a little bit of your story. How this whole, couple, family, you guys, business, everything started? Because it's like a bundle of amazingness all together with both of you.
Yeah. So our entrepreneur journey did not start like I think most people. Most people, I feel like, kind of want to have a business in the beginning. Ours, we happened upon. And what I mean by that is, I had always wanted to be a marriage and family therapist, and Cory was in grad school to become a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And we experienced a really rough tragedy where we literally saw families destroyed before our eyes. And I was in my undergrad at the time. And I came home from work and I got a very strong impression. Your mission in life is to help families. And I thought, well, that's kind of a weird impression because I was already in my undergrad to be a marriage and family therapist. We had already been foster parents for about, 5 years at that time.
Yeah, 5 years.
And we've had 30 kids in our home over the years. We have 5 kids that we've basically adopted all of them. And so we just kind of, ignored that prompting a little bit and just kept going. But we were at a physical therapy conference a few years later, and we got the impression, now's the time to start your business. And we had always coached couples. But again, he was in physical therapy school. Like I was going to do marriage and family. Like we weren't going to mix the two,
Yeah.
But we started our coaching business of coaching couples. And as we started it, we started having entrepreneurs to us. But we found that their problems were not the typical core problems that generic couples go through. And so we started shifting to the entrepreneur world because we found that so many businesses can be so successful if they just fix a couple things at home. And so that's what we focus on is we tweak those things that are blocking the mental block, because you can't have a strong mental capacity if you're fighting with your spouse. If there's not peace at home,
Yes.
You have so much more clarity when there's peace at home.
Well, we all have a limited amount of brain space and creativity. It's not infinite. There's a limit to it. But when we crowd our mind and our thinking space and time with stress or negative things, it decreases our ability to show up as the best of ourselves for the customers that we serve. And I don't know about you, but when I'm paying somebody for a service or a good, I want the best of the best. I don't want the refunded stuff. I don't want the stuff that is discounted that is not very good quality. I want the best of the best. I want what I paid for, and I want people to over deliver. And so the chances that you over deliver, that you show up 100% in your business when things are not going well at home are reduced, because
Yes.
when our brain space, when our mind, everything's clouded, we just aren't very efficient. We don't perform very well. We're distracted, and it's very clear when you're having a conversation when someone's not in it. And the best way to take care of that is taking care of things at home first.
And I think it's interesting because you guys are all about content as profit, right? It's the same in marriage. It's business and marriage. You show up, you make profit, right? You keep going.
Yeah.
It eventually boils down to it working, right? It's the same in marriage. You show up in your marriage, you show up in your business, and things get changed.
Yeah. It's funny how messages are put in front of us when we need it, right? We're going through a little bit of a growth moment in the company, and that includes some processes in the back end with the team and so on. And that's caused some extra hours, either at the studio, the office,
Right.
or even at home, right? And I remember we had this amazing conversation with George Bryant a couple of weeks ago where I completely broke when, and he was very vulnerable too, and I was very vulnerable. And then FONZI was being vulnerable, crying on his side, on his own. So it was like a cry fest, but it was good. It was good therapy, right? And I think this has come in a moment where I think personally I needed it, right? To where I have to pay attention there too, because as we grow, we had to build on the business side of things so I can run smoothly at home, and the things at home had to run smoothly with the business as well, right? So, by the way, the relationship is incredible with my wife, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
Yes.
But the thing is, right, it never dawned on me until we got into this position that the situation at home needs to be really good for us to operate the business, right? Sometimes we see it as two different entities, right? But the second that connection is broken or something is not good either at home with relationships, call it wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever that is, then you're not going to perform 100% in the business, right? And I think it was never clear to us, and we've had several people put in our path, like you guys, like Monica, like George with his relationship with his wife, that we've had this conversation now, and it's so important to understand that, and this is why I'm so excited to have this conversation, because if it's happening to us, I think it's happening to many people out there trying to, you know, make their dreams work, but at the same time they might not be paying enough attention at home. And then that can affect the end result on the other side. So I just wanted to put that out there and say that I'm extremely excited for this conversation, and I appreciate for what you guys do, saving homes and families.
I love how you guys put the analogy there of showing up 100%, and I think it's more than just an analogy, right? It's reality, because you want, as a business, to give everything for it. You're serving, right, your clients. You have their best interest in mind. And exactly, if the things at home are not in order, if you have that, you know, if your mindset is still at home trying to figure things out over there, you cannot show up 100%. And I remember, I think I told this to Monica, that, you know, I remember growing up, I'm a very emotional person. And I remember I would be, you know, like falling in love when I was a kid, and when I would fall in love with some girl, and then I had a soccer game, and this girl wouldn't pay attention to me at all, I would always play terrible. I would have
that was the reason.
I would have the worst games ever, and it's because my mental space was all in you know, La La Land. I was like, oh, why is this girl not paying attention to me, right? And even though I'm not married at this point, I am in a relationship, and my brother can attest to this. When we have issues in the relationship, I can definitely tell it affects me in the workplace as well, right? So I guess one of the questions that people might get into their head at first is like, how do we avoid that, right? How do we avoid getting into those situations? But before we get into that question, I would love to ask you guys, you know, have you guys faced any challenge within your own marriage, right? That led you guys to realize, like, wow, this is how things should be. I think more people needs to hear this message.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for one, it's important to know, like, entrepreneurship is a very lonely ride, right? Like, most of us had lots of friends before we became entrepreneurs, and then somehow they just magically disappear, right? But I think it's interesting because it is such a lonely ride. But if we are able to recenter everything and just focus on, like, the core principles of why we're doing what we're doing, why it is important to step in. Sorry, hold on one second.
So what she's trying to say is that
he always translates better.
I love it.
When we have,
do the look.
when we encounter something difficult, a lot of times the natural tendency is to shut down, to really get into this fight or flight mode where it's all about me and I've really just got to show up and be at, like, all in type of thing, which can be the solution. But when we do that, a lot of times it isolates the people that we love the most. It isolates our family and our friends, the people that are our greatest support. And so to answer that question, JoJo and I, as foster parents, we've had a lot of transition in our home. We've had 30 children in our home over the last 8 years as foster parents. Yeah. And each time we had a child in and out of our home, it was trauma, it was traumatic, it was something for the child that was experiencing coming or leaving from our home. But it also played a huge impact on us personally and our children, because JoJo and I, as foster parents, we don't have the control of how long these children will be in our home. But our approach we took is, regardless of how long these children are in our home, we will love them as best as we can. So we've had someone in our home for nearly 2 years, and they went home to relatives. We had a child in our home for 18 hours and everything in between. And so for us, a challenge in our relationship has been when we've allowed the circumstances of life to really have a significant impact. And so I'll share one story with you. My 8-year-old son, he just loves being a foster brother. He just, anytime we get a call for a potential new placement, he just loves it. and we have 5 kids right now, and he tells us pretty frequently, "Oh, I need more brothers. I want more brothers. I want more sisters." He just loves to love people, and that's such an example as an 8-year-old. But here's a real conflict that we had in our marriage that was really significant. So I was in physical therapy school, which who's ever been in grad school knows that
Awful.
a doctoral level program is very intense, requires a lot of studying, a lot of everything, a lot of time in the classroom, a lot of time in the labs, and all these things. And so I was very dedicated to my studies because it was a challenge for me. Many people, school comes easy for them, but that's not me. And so as a grad student in physical therapy school, I probably wasn't the best version of myself because I was irritable, I was tired, I was grumpy. And sometimes that displayed on JoJo. And this story really exemplifies that exact thing. And so in PT school, our second semester of first year, which is part of the most difficult part of it, we had a 16-month-old little boy entering our home. And the environment that he came from, his mother was a heavy drug user on the streets. She overdosed, which is how he came into foster care. And he had spent 3 or 4 weeks in one other home before he came to our home. She was older. It wasn't an adoptive resource, and we potentially were an adoptive resource. So the foster care system moved him to our home. But as he came to our home, at 16 months old, he was depressed. He knew how to talk but wouldn't talk. He didn't know how to receive love because he never did. And for 3 weeks straight, he cried and cried and cried. There was nothing we can do. You often hear that cry nonstop as a term, but for us, it really was true. Yeah. If he wasn't eating or sleeping, he was crying, except for a small portion of the day when he would find a car and isolate himself. But he wanted no interaction with us or with our children. Yeah. And it was really hard for them. Our 8-year-old, he said to us at one point, because he could feel the tension building in our home, he could feel all the struggles that we had. He said to us at one point, "Are you sure he has to stay in our home?" And to hear that was devastated, because my 8-year-old could see the impact that it was having on our marriage. And about a month into this, we were like, something's got to change or our family is not going to last. Yeah. And we weren't fighting, but we just weren't as compassionate. We weren't just serving.
It was hard.
We were short with each other, and it just
rough.
Wasn't the quality of relationship that we were used to. It was more contention in our home than ever before. But we sat down and we said, okay, this is not working. What can we do?
Yeah.
And as we had this long heart-to-heart conversation with each other, we determined we're never giving up on this child. It's not an option to move him for another home. So we have to figure it out. The figuring out that took place for us was we stopped communicating. We were frustrated and grumpy, and when things didn't go our way, instead of talking it out like we had normally always done before, we got frustrated and increased the contention. So as we started this experience, we started to communicate and be like, okay, what is going on? What is wrong? And as we started to improve as a husband and wife, the confidence in my 8-year-old started to return. Okay, this little boy is meant to be in our home.
Yeah.
And we communicated more, and we had an increase in love, and eventually he started to accept the love.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that we see. Sorry, Cory had to go. But that's one of the biggest things that we see often is that there is that frustration, because when we do own our own business, it is extremely difficult. Like it really, really is. It's extremely difficult. And when we have our own business, sometimes it's hard for that spouse. It creates that wedge. Sometimes our spouse doesn't understand what's going on in the business, and they don't know how to ask the questions because they've never been entrepreneurs and they don't know what to ask. And I think that's one of the biggest things is if you sit down and have those conversations with your spouse of what's uncomfortable for them, what do they need to know about the business, and what are they struggling with? And I know that we've kind of talked about this before, like off scenes, whatever, but if we're talking to our spouse about what's struggle for them, it helps bridge that communication gap. It helps change things so that way they can actually be a part of the business without having to like run a business.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. By the way, I just want to highlight the fact that Cory just dropped that incredible, amazing story, bomb golden boulder, and then he just like, peace. No, I'm kidding. He left because he had family commitments, right? And family comes first always. So we appreciate him being here. And, now we're super honored to have you here. But wow.
He literally dropped the mic.
He dropped the mic like that.
He dropped the mic.
I was
he
like,
always does.
What? And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for what you guys do. Like, I don't think that's something that most people will sign up for. And second, wow, incredible lessons, right? Like there for not just your marriage, for your life in general, right? Like the fact that you guys went through this situation for about 3 weeks, where, you identified the situation, you sat down, you talked it out, you're like, hey, this is a game plan, let's go. And I think that exact situation you can grab that framework and apply it to every single aspect of your life where things might be going wrong. It's like, okay, let's stop. Right? Let's sit down, let's talk it out. And then it's like, what is the new game plan? Right. And I think a lot of people miss that, right? Like a lot of people don't tackle that. And I see it now. And maybe because we're too close to the operations, right? To the day to day, it's hard to do that, right? Because like, oh my God, if I stop, I'm going to lose the momentum. Well, guess what? This new plan is going to help you. So this is definitely a lesson that I'm taking with me, for home and for BIZBROS and Content Momentum, right? The program that we have. So I just wanted to highlight and double down on that because, for those listening, everything that we're talking with Cory and JoJo today, yes, it might be relationship based, but at the same time, look for those frameworks that you can apply on your job with your partner, like in the business, with your partner at home, because these frameworks you can apply it and get those results 100%. So you just want to do that highlight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, we go through our life with our partner. And, our job is not just exclusive to us. Like, once they get involved, once we start a relationship, like, they are involved in all the other aspects of our life as well, even if it is just sharing it on the kitchen table, right? But so I think we need to be conscious about those things because of course a lot of times we're like, we don't want to, don't bring work to the house and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that is our day to day. Like we're going to have worries that we bring from the job to the house that we might want to discuss to them. Right. So I'm curious on that side, what are some of the best practices or what would you recommend for someone that, maybe their partner is not, let's just start with someone that might not be as entrepreneurial as they are, right?
Yeah.
And they are so excited of what they're building, of what they're doing, that all they want to do is share it with their partner. And maybe they find their partner overwhelmed over all the time talking about this, the entrepreneurial side. What are some, what is some advice that you would give to these people? Like, how can you, instead of, just share, also listen and, show the care for the other person as well?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways that you can do this. First of all, dates are vital. Like, I know that a lot of us work from home and we think like, awesome, my spouse loves that I'm home, but they still need dates. Like, and when you're on a date, you don't talk about the business unless they want to talk about it. Unless the spouse brings it up, don't even talk about it. But every day you can talk about things. We call it the struggle bus. And I think we've taught this before to you guys, but the struggle bus is amazing because it helps bridge what was uncomfortable throughout the day. What were 3 things that were uncomfortable throughout the day for the entrepreneur and the non-entrepreneur, which is so vital that you listen to the non-entrepreneur because you'd be surprised on how easy you can serve your spouse when it's something like doing the dishes or whatever, that maybe things that you used to do and you don't do anymore.
Yeah.
So you share 3 things every night or every few nights on things that were uncomfortable for you in the business or that were uncomfortable throughout the day. Let's say that your wife is a stay-at-home mom. And then I have 5 kids. Like, I know how stressful that is. And like, we run the business too. Like, so there's certain things that the entrepreneur doesn't see behind the scenes that they think, okay, I come home, dishes are done, table's clean, like kids are fed, like everything's done. Yeah. But they didn't hear the tantrums throughout the day. They didn't hear the whining, the crying. They didn't have to like be a nurse throughout the day for their kids. Like they didn't have to do that. And so those kind of things you'll hear from your non-entrepreneur spouse a lot of the time, or even if they're working and they have a 9 to 5, you'll hear things that were a struggle for them. And if you're not paying attention to that, you don't know how to serve them, right? Like, so if you're paying attention to what they say is a struggle or something that was uncomfortable for them, 3 things every day, and then you share your 3 things. So whether it was, I was uncomfortable in a meeting, or I was uncomfortable messaging new clients, I don't know, like whatever you're uncomfortable with, or whatever was a struggle that day for you, let your spouse know, because then they become a part of the business without having to run the business, without having to like do extra things, but they become a support.
Yeah.
And we all need that extra support. Like, let's face it, we are entrepreneurs and it's very difficult. Like, it's hard and it's lonely. But if we have our spouse on board with what's difficult for us, then it helps us be able to progress. And that's one of the biggest things that we saw, like, we just thought we were going into marriage coaching like marriage coaching. We're like, okay, cool, we're just going to help fix marriages. But what we found was that we're fixing businesses on top of the marriages because we're building that bridge, and like spouses are having peace at home so they can actually build the profit. They can build the content that they need to produce.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to share your 3 things of struggle every day with them, and then they share it with you, and then share 3 things of gratitude, and then the next day, use one of those things from their struggle bus and do some service. Maybe it was their struggles. They feel overwhelmed because the kids are always messing up the house. Well, how about you go clean the house for a minute? You know, like little things that you can lighten their burdens. It'll increase your profits a lot in your business.
I love it. I love the, I love that whole struggle bus concept on, ask them what they're struggling with and then actually take action about it and help them. And, it is a simple concept in theory, but often we don't really pay attention to that and we don't ask. We forget to ask, like, what is bothering you? I feel like we need to become better at definitely listening, right? At putting the other person on the spotlight and be like, okay, tell me, how can I help you? What can I help you with? Because often we are, and nothing wrong with this, but we often get carried away in our own problems, right? I feel it's human nature where like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Me. And then we just carried away on, I got all these problems, and we fail to see the ones of our partner that we have right in front of us.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting because especially the non-entrepreneur spouse, like they don't know how to support a lot of the time. And so if you're able to just even ask a couple of things like what was uncomfortable for you, it's a non-threatening way to talk to your spouse, because a lot of men, I'm sure you guys know this, you don't want to come home and talk, but us women, we need it. It's very much needed. I
want to come back home and cuddle. That's what I tell my girlfriend. I'm like, babe, let's cuddle. Give me a little hug in here.
Yesterday I saw your reels or TikTok, whatever you were doing. So I don't know if that's true what you just said. So I'm just saying.
I did my first Instagram reel, guys. Go check it out. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Okay. Let the audience judge. Okay, we're good. Thank you. I wanna mirror this, right? Because the same thing you could do at work, right? At the same time, the same thing with your business partner, with the person that you're working with. Yep. Dude, FONZI, what are you struggling with? Right? I'll share the 3 mine. And that's something that when we spoke with you the first time, we kind of mentioned, right? Like the second we started having those interactions, things got better, right? Sometimes, and sometimes, FONZI might act a certain way because he sees me like mega busy, maybe on client's call or different things or processes with the team, right? I doesn't want to say anything, but those things are necessary. Sometimes I feel the same way because he's at the coffee shop. I'm like, well, he's working. That's his environment where he produces, right? I don't want to dive into this, but I think those conversations are so necessary. And I think the same concept, the struggle bus, I love it. Plus gratitude is great. Like, what are 3 things? Like, even if 3 might be so overwhelming because of the business, there's always stuff breaking when you're building, and that's okay, right? Maybe ask one, like, hey, FONZI, what do you need help with right here? And I think you can apply, if you do that. You don't have to do different frameworks. It's the same frameworks at home, same frameworks at work, and then everything grows.
Yeah. So
it's so true.
What has been some of the the changes in couples that you guys been working with when they start actually implementing this struggle bus framework?
So there's a lot of stuff that has changed. First of all, that emotional connection for the women has obviously gone up, but then the physical connection goes up for the men because the women are actually wanting to be with them. Has went on a side note, but inside of the profits of the business, they increase because that imposter syndrome shortly goes away because you now have someone to rely on. And maybe it doesn't go away, but it goes Like you have someone to talk to about it.
Yes.
You have someone to like say, hey, you know what? I was uncomfortable today because the BIZBROS are killing it and I'm not, or whatever, you know, like.
Of course you are.
We're able to.
You're killing it.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like they're able to communicate with their spouse, like what was a little bit of a struggle for them. And so just the emotional boost alone goes a long way in the profits of the business.
Yeah. I think it's so important that the power of having someone in your corner, right? And I relate to this in the sense of business-wise. When we first started, I was going at it mainly by myself, right? Like, yes, my brother and I started it together, but once he got his job and I was the one doing the digital marketing things, I'm doing air quotes because I feel that now in retrospective, I'm like, I wasn't doing anything. Right.
That's why it took us like 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. But by being alone, right, and trying to like learn everything and execute everything on my own, like not having anybody to lean on was tough, because when you have bad days, there's nobody there to cheer you up. There's nobody there to, maybe take over the tasks so you can go take a break, right? And maybe being alone was just my own perspective at the moment, just because I was like, oh, my brother has a job. But, in theory, we were together. So I was like, yo, I need help with this. And maybe he would have been like, I need to do it. So that talks about the importance of communication, right? Like how important it is to actually voice your thoughts and your feelings to that person that you're spending the most time with, which in this case is probably your spouse.
Yeah, Jojo, I have a very specific episode and story like with FONZI. Like I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, right? And
2017.
No, this was 2020. Like it was not so long ago. The show was already running, and I remember like the show has a process. Like after we record this thing, there's a process, a bunch of steps that need to happen for it to go live and to set in production for the team, right? So that process was at that point my responsibility, because I was tinkering with it and so on and stuff like that. But the process got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because the production on the back end, we're testing always, right? So I remember a Sunday, and I tried to take my Sunday off, like legit, just my phone is almost off. Like I don't even go to social at all. Like that's my disconnect day with Katie. We go on walks and we take a look at the zoo. And at the time, that wasn't happening. So Sundays afternoon, I will have to like either join FONZI in his famous coffee shop, and I would sit down. And I remember that specific day, I come in and I was so frustrated. Frustrated first at home because things weren't getting done, or I thought they weren't getting done. Like I wasn't feeling the momentum right at work. So I was mad at the world. And I got there and I frustrated with FONZI, and I was trying to think, why am I so angry at FONZI? Why? Other than that, his gorgeous beard and voice, other than that, I was like, what the heck? Like, why? And I sat down, and when I started to execute on this, and I'm like, man, I'm overwhelmed because I have to execute on this. And then there's these other tasks that we need to, complete before Monday starts, which is tomorrow. And I told him, I'm like, dude, that was the first time I feel like me reached out to him like that. Man, like, dude, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this. Like, I have so much. I have to do all that. And Katie's at home and she's mad at me because I got to do this and X, Y, Z. And he's like, dude, thank you for telling me that. I got this. And since that day, he's the owner of that process. And he's elevated it so much more to that. So first off,
so if by any chance you guys don't see the episodes coming now, it's my fault.
Exactly. if we announce, hey, by the way, the episode might be late 1 or 2 days, it's fun. No, I'm kidding. Like everything has worked and the process has evolved and is being elevated. But in that specific moment, I remember having that conversation, and I was able to go back home and tell Katie that, and be vulnerable with Katie. I'm like, look, this is what just happened. I was feeling so overwhelmed. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Why didn't you say that? And then conversation continued to flow. And then, we had a great Sunday afternoon. FONZI took over and the world's still standing and way better, right? So what we're just talking about, it just throws me back to that moment. And so every time now that I'm feeling like that, either I'm going to go directly to Katie. I'm going to be like, hey, babe, I feel like this way, X, Y, Z. And then we're going to come up with a solution like you guys did, right? You guys came together and you're like, oh, we're feeling like this, 3 weeks of this. Like, oh man, this is intense. What do we do now? Mm-hmm. And if it's at work, same thing. We're going to talk it up. So I still feel there's a lot of room for improvement, because there's like these old beliefs and things and habits and that happen as we grow. But the taking action has to happen. So Thank you. Like, this is so valuable. I feel like I'm loving this because I feel like everybody needs to hear this, and we need to be loud, JoJo.
Everybody.
Yes, we do.
That's why I'm so excited. You guys are freaking killing it with your show. So I'm saying.
Thank you. Can I share one more thing too?
Yes.
Just know, like, when you're wear the hat you're supposed to wear. Like, whether you work with your business or like with a business partner or with your spouse, or your spouse is not an entrepreneur, wear the hat you're supposed to wear when you're supposed to wear it. So I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs are husbands and fathers, or moms and spouses. Like, so you have a lot of hats, right? You have the household duties, you have the relationship duties, you have parenting duties, you have business duties, you have all these things. And so when you're in the business, wear the hat of the business, be focused, be intentional. When you're home, set aside that time, be intentional time where it's not business calls. It's not, it's not anything other than that family time.
It's not Clubhouse.
And then
saying, I don't know if you've been on Clubhouse.
Oh, wait, what'd you say?
I don't know if you've been on Clubhouse, but I'm just saying it's not Clubhouse because people jump in and they're, multitasking on Clubhouse and playing with a kid, and it's not that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So when you're wearing the hat to be at home, be at home. When you're wearing the hat to be in the business, like, be intentional in the business. And same thing with your spouse. Like, when you're wearing the hat to be with your spouse, be with your spouse. Mm-hmm. And don't flood them with business stuff if they don't want to talk about business. Like, understand that this is like an addiction. We all think about business 24 hours a day, right? But our spouse doesn't. Our spouse thinks of everything else that's going on, and they think about everything else that maybe you used to do and don't do anymore, Yep. And so I think that's one of the biggest things is wear the hat you're supposed to wear, because when the wind comes and the storms blow, you only can end up with one hat. You can't carry them all.
Yeah.
So
I agree so much with that. I think one of the biggest levers of, moving things forward is by actually focusing on one thing at a time, right? Yes. And I mean, we spend now a lifetime pretty much trying to do multiple things at a time, right? Checking your phone while paying attention to this. Like, now we're constantly, our attention is just bouncing from one side to the other. And we're constantly living in the future as well, right? Like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that for X, Y, Z, instead of, okay, let me be present. What is it that is happening right now that, I can enjoy, right? Whether it's something uncomfortable to do, like, I'm sure you can find joy in being present, right? And learning from that experience in the moment. And I think it's so difficult. We need to remind ourselves that it's like, I need to be here right now doing this one specific thing, right? So I encourage everybody to look at their calendar and be like, okay, when I'm sitting here doing this is the one thing that I'm going to do, right? Like, if I have to write an email, I'm just going to sit down and write the email and be present with the email. If I'm going to be having dinner with my girlfriend, right, I'm going to be sitting down, present, having dinner with my girlfriend. So it's important, right? And this morning I got a reminder from my girlfriend. We were, I was making breakfast and I was reading a book while I was making breakfast. And she's like, why do you always need to be doing something? Right?
Yes.
It's like, why can't you just cook breakfast? And I was like, I was like, my ego was like, maybe it's difficult to accept, that comment and stuff. I was like, you need to get a toaster so I can cook, the bread faster. But yeah, in a sense, I was like, actually be with my own thoughts while making breakfast. That's totally fine, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a small example in a very, very big pond of things that we, don't take care of, which is, I think it can escalate pretty quickly.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
JoJo, what you guys shared today has been absolutely incredible. Now, I know that obviously you guys have a podcast. Like, why? Like, this deserves to be shared 24/7, and have conversations around this, especially in this world of entrepreneurship. So what motivated you guys to start publishing? And for us, people know the 45 Live story, and they know the story of why we started the Content's Profit. We started at a very low point of our business because we're about to lose it. And external reasons and internal reasons as well, both of them. But I'm curious, why do you guys decided to publish? Why do you guys decided to share this message loud as you guys are sharing it?
I think the biggest thing, so we had multiple reasons why. First of all, because the people that we have on our show are experts in business. We've had you guys on our show, and entrepreneurship is very lonely. And so when you create a team, it creates a team of every weakness that you have, there's someone that's great at it, right? So that was one reason why we created the show, was so that way other entrepreneurs have a safe haven. But maybe not more importantly, but very importantly, it's because every family deserves to have a couple, a marriage, a relationship, parents that don't fight 24 hours a day. Business owners don't need to fight 24 hours a day. Yeah. And it can be simple tips with communication. It can be simple tips for emotional connection. It can be simple tips for business that just changes your life and your relationship. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing, is because all of our children grew up without a father, right? Like they all grew up in foster care. Most of them were homeless before they came to us. Like the things that they've seen have been far worse than what most adults have seen. Yeah. And so for us, our mission is to save families. Our mission is to help. If we strengthen the top of the family, it strengthens the children. It strengthens everywhere in between. And with entrepreneurs, they have the opportunity to change the world with their business. And how much more can they change the world if they're a good spouse, if they're a good father, if they're a good wife, if they're a good mother? Like, how much more can you change the world when you have that mental clarity, when you have that peace at home, and when you have that strength and that team to move you forward? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we've seen in our family is we don't just create our content off of what's worked for us or whatever. We ask our kids, like, what do parents need to do? What do we need to do better at? Like, so we're constantly changing things because there is output that our family can give us, you know? There's output that your spouse can give you for the business that can help move you forward if we just listened. And so that's why we created our podcast. And that's why we created everything that we do, is to help strengthen families and to move families forward, so that way entrepreneurs can actually have successful family and a successful business.
I love it. I love the ripple effect view that you have in it. It's like, you know, like if we strengthen the core of the family, the top. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. I'm sorry.
Bless you. Wow. Okay, we're good. Live.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I got the attack of the sneezes. But what I'm saying is, I love that ripple effect, right? Because if we, you know, manage to help the people that are guiding this family, right? The parents, they're gonna have probably a great influence on their kids as well, right? So indirectly, you are working with the kids too, right? And now you are raising a whole new generation of kids that know how to grow in a household, right? How to treat their spouse correctly, how to interact, how to properly communicate. So many benefits. And I make a special remark on this because I want everybody that is listening right now to actually think about the ripple effect in their business, right? What is that ripple effect that you're doing, right? So for us, personally, we talk about now, preach about, hey, turn your thoughts into words, start publishing, because we have seen the effect that it has in the immediate person, right? And now they're sharing their message and they're going to help even more people. Is that hourglass effect? So it actually adds more meaning to your mission, right? Because it is that second order of effect, right? And I want to encourage people to do that exercise, write it down. Like, who am I influencing on a second order of effects, right? Like, after I influence that one person that I immediately am helping, what are they doing to help others? And you're going to see that your reach is actually massive.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
Jojo, I'm inspired on how you always go back to your mission and vision, and you're like, man, I like, you live it, right? Like, you see it right there with your kids. You've seen the impact, that the negative impact and the positive impact that this could happen. So I think that's a very important element. Like for us, you know, I don't think what we do is as meaningful as what you guys do. Like you are, you know, saving families, right? Like, we're helping people to talk in front of a camera, which can create an impact. But what you guys are doing is it's literally saving them, right? Because we've been very lucky that we grew up in a place, in a family that was very close, that we received a ton of love. We were presented with opportunities that they said, like, hey, go at it, dude. Like, my dad remember telling me, hey, if you want to be a shoe shiner, just be the best shoe shiner ever. Like, we don't care. Like, just do what you do. And they don't understand what we do now. So, you know, hence this whole thing. But at the same time, it's so important for an entrepreneur to go look at that. Like, for example, our mission, we saw what publishing and being in front of a camera with your message, your imperfect message, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like that consistency can do for us, because we've seen it. We've grown tremendously internally and externally, like me, mostly in my belly. But, you know, it's okay. We've seen the progress, and we believe that that's, you know, incredible. And for you, that's also like so strong, because you see it every single day, and you're willing to be loud, and you're willing to help people. And if you impact one person, you're not changing one person, you're changing the entire family, their environment, because then their friends see that, the whole the neighbors see that, right? The kids see that, and they grow up like that, and it's positive impact. So I want you to I want to encourage you, and anybody that's listening that has something similar, to continue doing it, and do not let the small stuff, I was gonna say a different word, but small stuff of the day-to-day is like, I just got 2 views. Doesn't matter, man. Your mission and your vision is so big that you cannot stop now. So thank you, Jojo, for that inspiration and what you guys are currently doing day-to-day. So continue to do it. We've been part of like different groups together, and it's been an incredible journey just to get to know you guys, and we're big fans, and we're very thankful that you guys came into our lives.
Yeah, we're definitely cheering here for you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Jojo, last couple questions for you.
Yeah.
What is one action point? And I think this is going to be awesome. What is one action point that somebody can do today, right, at home, to better their relationships, so they can better their business and increase their profits?
Yeah. So you can always do the struggle bus that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Or if you want something mega, super duper simple, send your spouse a text of the day. And what the text of the day is you just send a text that says, hey, I'm thinking about you, or hey, how are the kids today? Or hey, I know that you have this call today. I'm praying for you. Just something to let them know every day that you're thinking about them, whether you're downstairs in the basement working on the business or you're away working on the business. It lets them know that you're in their corner, and that you're always there for them, that you're thinking about them even when you're doing the business, because business can become like an affair. Yeah. And so it helps them understand like that you're still thinking about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Business can be like an affair. Wow.
Totally can.
That's powerful.
Ask your wife.
That is very powerful. So I invite everybody to reflect on that one, and ask yourself if your business is being an affair, and you are not taking care of things at home.
Whew. You thought it through? Okay, good. I did. I did. So, FONZI, to answer your question at the very beginning, I did the text. You did the text. Yeah, I haven't, Jojo, I have a confession to make. I haven't been as consistent as possible, but I do it, and I can tell the second I do it, because Katie is a pharmacist, so her schedule is completely crazy. Sometimes there's even couple days in a row that we might not see each other. Like last night, for example, she got in at 1 a.m. I was completely passed out. And then I left this morning early, and she was still sleeping. So that is so important, right? And I want to share a quick story that happened this weekend where, Friday night we had date night, which was awesome. We went for sushi, and then it was FONZI's birthday. So we got a couple drinks, and it was great. And we had a great time all together. And throughout the weekend, we did some activities together. And, we chatted, we had those conversations, the 20-minute conversations. It was a version of the struggle bus, kind of like, but now that I have the framework, I'm like, this is perfect. So thank you for sharing that. Yes. And then Sunday night comes, and we're like, oh, okay, we got to go do groceries, right? So I jump on her car, and she has one of those sunroofs, right? And I love to open the sunroofs, and she doesn't like it too much. But that day, she was like, it's okay, the weather's beautiful, like, let's open the sunroof. And I'm like, oh, great, sweet, quick win. Anyways, we go to the supermarket, we come back, and then we park the car. I swear I closed the sunroof completely. Guess what? I didn't. Like, the back end was still open, and that night it rained the entire night. And in a different stage of her life, that Monday morning, she would have flipped.
File for divorce right there.
She would have filed for divorce, like kill me, because she woke up at 5 a.m. to go to work at 6, freezing cold, and her whole car was completely soaked because of the rain and because of my fault. This is what she did. She sent me a quick text. She's like, the whole car is soaked. like you left this open, and I'm like, I died. Like I can't come back home tonight. Like this is it.
Cue horror music in there.
Horror
Bum,
movie.
bum,
Bum,
bum.
bum, bum. So I'm like, oh baby, I'm so sorry. Like I totally thought about like that. I closed it. XYZ. She didn't respond, so I think that was her way to enjoy it. But when she came back home, she was like, it happened, man. Like, it's okay. Like, just don't do it again. And I think, and I don't think, I know it's because of the quality weekend that we spent together, right? Like if the friction would have been built up during the weekend because maybe I was at work or maybe because I wasn't focused on the relationships, like you mentioned, I would have died Monday. And then today you would have been doing the show just with FONZI. So this is a testimonial to like text the wife or the couple or your person every single day, and yes, you'll survive.
It's impressive on
and thrive.
How such a simple act and going out of her way can actually, help build a strong relationship.
Yes.
Oh, it's so true. So true.
Thank you. All right, last question, Jojo. You ready?
Ready.
Well, I have another one at the end, but you got.
You have another. So okay.
Mine is.
If it's a purpose, it's not last question.
All right, I'm gonna ask it then before the last question, Jojo. I am so curious. This is a totally selfish question, but
all right, let's hear it.
What is actually your first name? Because I've always known you by Jojo. But
So most people only know me by JoJo, but my real name is Joanne. My full name is Joanne.
Joanne.
But you've never met like a young Joanne, have you?
Nope.
I have.
They're usually about 60 years old or older. You have one.
So Jojo, but
I've always gone by JoJo since like third grade. So
that's good. Okay.
Just who I am.
I love it though. I love it. But I was curious. I was like, is it Jordan? I never thought about Joanne.
Well,
but now I know.
We're thinking about calling FONZI Lulu.
Lulu. Yeah.
So instead of it's just Lulu. That would be the new nickname for FONZI.
I'll stick with the FONZI or Fofo.
Fofo. Oh my
Love
God.
it.
Joe, you just started a trend. Lulu and Fofo.
We're gonna start.
Lulu and Fofo.
We're gonna start naming every guest for their first two letters of their name. And they will say. So Cory would be Coco.
Coco and
He'd be Coco. Some people call us Kojo. They just combine the two.
Kojo,
hey, I like it.
Wow.
That's like the YouTubers trend that was going on.
Yeah.
That's
what Catherine tells us.
That's
Joe.
awesome.
Yes. This is how ideas are born. Like in my head now, I'm like, Coco and Jojo and Lulu and Fofo are the new kids' books to, do stuff, teach kids stuff,
Teach kids about communication and the power of, well-built relationships. Wow, that was difficult. That was
done. All right, Jojo, here we go. Last question now. Thank you, FONZI. Great parenthesis.
Thank you.
Where will you guys be if you did not publish?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I actually have a tiny story for this. So we, again, have 5 kids doing virtual learning with 5 kids. We have our business, like all kinds of stuff is going on all the time, right? So I got lazy and did not produce, right? And everything went down because if you're not producing, you're not showing up. So nobody knows who you are. So then you're starting over. So I strongly suggest that you don't do that and that you produce constantly. You're giving out that content. You're getting to, you're getting out there constantly. So yes, we've done that. Hashtag don't do it.
So powerful. I mean, to a point. I mean, right now, the show is the way that it is. So we continue to execute because, we talked about the 45 Live at the very beginning of consistently publishing.
Which if you aren't doing it, you need to do it.
Yes. Are you guys coming, joining us? Yes.
Yes.
By the time people are listening to this, we're already going, but you guys can come to go45.live and join us in the Facebook groups, which we super awesome. But the second we got results from consistency, the same thing in this season 1, we completely stopped. Guess what? Everything went down again. So it is a must. We need to make it happen. So Jojo, thank you so much. I can't wait for Monday to get this started, and it's gonna be so fun. So we'll let you know about the details. And if you're listening, go to go45.live. That's gonna send you directly to our Facebook group, and we can update you from there. But Jojo, where can people find you? Where can people listen to your amazing lessons? Where can people find Kojo?
Yes, the Kojo is hanging out at Strong Business, Stronger Marriage Facebook group. So that's our Facebook group, Strong Business, Stronger Marriage Facebook group. And then we have the same name for our podcast, Strong Business, Stronger Marriage podcast. And then we're actually doing a virtual date night event on February 19th and 20th. So I can give that to you guys on the link and people can register for it. But just a way to save your business and save your marriage and increase your profits in your business. So that is how you do it.
Yes.
Absolutely, guys. Go get that peace of mind. That is, go do it. That clarity is necessary.
For those listening, we just got to scroll down. All the links are going to be right there. So you can go to the Kojo podcast, the Kojo Facebook group. Go ahead, go hang out and learn a ton. Ask your questions.
Just to make sure people understood, the Facebook and podcast is not called the Kojo.
I know.
It's called it's called Strong Business, Stronger Marriage. Just in case.
But the links are gonna be right there. The links are gonna be right there. So go
Nice.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
All right. Jojo,
awesome.
Any last thoughts before we close the interview?
I think the biggest thing is just talk to your spouse, ride that struggle bus and talk with them. Build that connection and you'll move forward in your business.
Yes.
Love it.
Right, the struggle bus. I like that. I
know. I love it. Yeah. And say thank you to Cory to Coco when he.
I will.
Yes, and
I will.
A big hug. All right, guys. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful and you are ready to deeply communicate with your partner, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.